to this week's episode of Cherish, Live, and Dream. I am your host, YaYa.
And I am your host, Jai.
And we are your hope dealers. So listen, guys, let's get into it. This is a topic that is going to be discussed until the end of man. And we are so excited to have our relationship expert, Brian, here with us to talk with us about some things that we as the people want to know. So welcome, Brian. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for the invitation.
We are so excited. So let's get into this without further ado. Listen, what sparked your focus or interest in doing a deep dive into breaking down the many facets of relationships?
Wow. So for me, everything in my life is about transformation, about reality, about my experiences. So for me, the deep dive was everything that I had gone through in my current and past relationships. So I'm because I like to be transparent, I use my personal experiences to help navigate. And even in my own life, you know, evolution and transformation are two words I try to make sure I stay focused on. The word change can be tricky because we're looking for something major. And if we can just make adjustments daily, that'll get us to the place of transformation. So for me, that's where my deep dive came from, looking at my own life, taking inventory over all the mistakes that I made, the pitfalls, and then picking up those pieces and putting together a puzzle. And so we can see a clear view of what's coming into focus.
Wow. So listen, ladies, did y'all hear that? He is in a current relationship, so move on. Okay, go ahead, Jay.
Okay, so Brian, mansplaining seems to be the foundation of your platform. Explain to us exactly what that means.
So mansplaining is a word that means using one's own experience as a man to comment or explain the male perspective to a woman. So like I said before, I use my own personal experiences and explain how men think to women, because a lot of times we think that we have it. I'm not trying to tell women how they think. I'm trying to help you understand how we think. And if we start understanding how each other think, I think we have a better chance at making it in these relationships. Instead of trying to push one agenda, we push a mutual agenda.
Right.
That's true. So can you give us like an example on how a woman would think compared to how a man would think? Like is there an example you can give us? So we can...
So yes, great conversation today. And I may get in trouble, I may not, but a lot of times women don't know what it goes into being a man. So, and I'm a Black man, so I'm gonna go a little step further.
Okay, please.
What goes into waking up in the morning, not having the relationship with my children, and we can talk about that later.
Okay.
Some of the struggles that go in with just getting up and getting out the door. So by the time we're on the phone with you, whether it's habit or we're just working through, navigating through our own emotions that most men want to deny that they have. You know, we want to find a place of safety, a place of refuge, a place where kind of like how Samson did with Delilah, where we can lay our head. So a lot of times we don't present that way. The way that we present is that we have it all together. And that we don't have any problems and that we can deal with our own issues and everything. But that it's almost like we bump heads on that, because where you all come from is the space of I had to get the kids ready. And if you're a single parent or, you know, whatever, you're dealing with more than just you.
Right.
And so we're bringing to the table all of these different thoughts, ideas, issues that, you know, we have to navigate through on a daily basis. And by the time we talk to each other, communicate with each other, sometimes it's a clash. So what I try to tell guys is when you're talking to a woman, listen first, understand where she's coming from. And when I'm talking to the women, listen intently to what your guy is saying, because a lot of times you're going to miss what he's saying, she's going to miss what you're saying. And then we go from talking every day to talking multiple times to talking once a day to checking in a couple times a week because we missed that. So a lot of times we're missing it for the example point. A lot of times we're missing it just in not being empathetic enough to understand, wow, he's dealing with all of this before I even talk to him. She's dealing with all of this before we even get on the phone. So if we can take our shoes off for a moment and get in the other person's shoes, even if the feet are bigger or smaller, it gives us the opportunity to feel the comfort or discomfort that that person is feeling before they engage with us. I know that was a lot to explain, but
no.
I believe in clarity. I believe in clarity to the point where you don't have to ask. If I was talking to a child, I would hope that child could understand it at the level that I presented.
Yes. Yes. That was a great analogy too about the shoes being smaller and the other ones being bigger, because everybody's situation is different. So like you said, if you come from a place of empathy and really listen and pay attention, then yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So yeah, that was spot on. I like that. That was good.
And then it also made me think about being selfless.
Ooh, yes.
You know, in relationships, I think that both are needed. Selfless in terms of making sure your partner gets what he or she needs, but selfish to make sure you don't lose yourself while doing that. So that was really good.
There's a third one too. Self-absorbed.
Self-absorbed.
Self-absorbed isn't where you're selfish or you're selfless. You're just at a place where I'm thinking about me and I'm not considering any of the other people until after I've considered myself. Wow. So you absorb with making, and that's a good balance. Having a bit of selflessness and a bit of selfishness to be making sure that your needs are taken care of. Because if you aren't able to function, then you're not going to be able to produce for anybody else.
There you go. There you go. Function and produce. Yeah.
And we just think differently. We just think totally different. We're talking today. Yes. And that's the thing. That response right there is exactly what because a lot of times, like a woman might think, okay, I'm not bringing any drama to him. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Yeah, but guess what? I asked you a yes or no question and you went around the world instead of just saying yes or no. And so for us, you're just like, listen, I get it, 80-20, but that doesn't matter. I just want you to give me a yes or no. And so along those lines, and you might want to talk about everything that was going on. So it's like we're getting it wrong, trying to get it right.
Exactly. I was just thinking, because I'm the type of person where, no, you just want a yes or no, but I need you to feel and hear and share my emotions. Like you're trying to not hear me, sir. But and what you're saying, that's not. So say that again.
And hearing you isn't a problem. When we're in court, you have to give your answer and then you qualify it. So what we're saying is, let's get you a yes or no, which is the qualifier, and then explain. Because if you do all that and we don't even get to the yes or no, we lost. And I've been guilty of it myself sometimes. So, I mean, it's a balance in that, you know.
Yeah, you are really shedding some light here, sir. So whenever I do get a boo, maybe I could be a little bit more selfless and not as selfish or self.
So right now you need to be working on self-absorbed.
Wait a minute.
Because you're single right now. So this is the time, right, Brian?
Oh,
she should be working on herself.
Okay. Let me calm down. Yeah.
Right.
Just trying to say.
Yeah, there has to be a balance. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the time. Yeah. This is the time to work on that.
So I know you talked about being transformed. So what was that process for you from being who Brian was to who Brian is now?
Okay. So since this is, I want to deal with censorship first. So I won't say what I want to say, but what I really want to say is a word that starts with an F and it rhymes with truck. And so that was, and it's a boy is at the end of it. So when I was younger, the new term now is a truck boy, but you know what I'm saying. So player, you know, charismatic, knew what to say, like gift of gab. I mean, master manipulator. I have to say that about. That's who the old Brian was. The new Brian lost so much in different relationships that I realized I'm the common denominator. So transformation was the growth. It started with me realizing, okay, if I want to do things, if I want to see different, I have to do things different. We all know the definition of insanity. And so I decided, let me do some things differently. And at the point that I was looking at doing things different, I didn't have a coach, a mentor. And so I just dug into research and studying and picking up every day where I left off on being the better version of me today. And so my transformation came from a place of losing great relationships. Like I said earlier, divorced in 2015, lost day-to-day contact with my children. I can go further, losing my dad before I turned 3 years old. So when you start seeing this pattern of loss, you start to realize, okay, I love people, I want to be close to people, but there's a fear of what if I lose them? So I believe faith over fear. And so I'm not going to operate in fear. I'm going to operate in what can I do to improve myself? And if things don't work, then I know I gave this person the best that I could give them with the information that I had at the time.
Right. So that brings me to how it's important to, like, I guess in your situation, recognize your own baggage.
Absolutely.
And see how that may or may not play out in your next relationship. So I think that's very, lack of a better word, I guess, great of you to recognize or take accountability for who you were before in terms versus who you are today. And I just wish that more men, and I'm going to say women, because we are some interesting creatures as well, would just do that.
But it's recognizing first, like for me, love, transformation, and healing are the three pillars in which, restoration, which is also transformation a bit, but are the three pillars that I try to hinge everything that I do on. So me recognizing that I was broken, I couldn't be healed until I first recognized I was broken. For a lot of us, brokenness is a cuss word. If you tell someone that they're damaged, it's like you cussed at them. And the reality is, until we recognize that we're broken, that we're damaged, that we need to be restored, then we're going to stay stuck in that same spot. And for me, I just choose to, instead of run away from my pain, I run towards it. Time moves forward, it doesn't move backwards. So I'm running towards whatever I'm going to feel so that I can move on through that. Because on the pathway or journey to healing, there's still going to be some areas, like for me, I'm not perfect. I have my challenges every single day. Twice on Sunday. Today is Sunday, right?
Today is Sunday.
It's Sunday.
So, I mean, it's a growth process. So it's not easy. So I wouldn't call myself an expert. You all call me an expert.
You are.
I am an expert of being the best version of me. And that's what I can say.
So I do have a question. So why do you think it's hard for people to get to the place to where they can admit, at least to themselves? Because sometimes you have to admit to yourself first before you can admit it to someone else. But why do you think it's hard for someone to admit to themselves that they are broken, or they do have some issues or some challenges, or even something from their childhood that may make them, kind of be the adult that they are today because they have not dealt with some of those things? What do you think it is?
Well, good point that you brought up about the childhood, because I think that's a learned behavior to not accept responsibility when we do something. Excuse me. To not accept responsibility. And I like what the Bible says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, blah, blah, blah. But as I became a man, and I'm going to use mankind, not just the masculine form, but as I became an adult, I put away childish things, and getting to the point of understanding that I did some things wrong means I have to challenge myself. Challenge and growth is hard because it's not something that people, we don't want to do that. We just want to skim through life and just be happy-go-lucky. And I think, to answer the question more directly, is the pain that comes with accepting the fact that I failed. The the pain that comes with having to accept the fact that I messed up, the pain that comes with having to accept the fact that I need help. I think those three places are areas where most people don't want to accept, because it's so much easier just to continue to do what you were doing before, and it be the other person's fault, instead of accepting the fact, you know what, I'm bringing some mess to the situation. And when you talk about a child, a lot of people like to use the word drama, but it's actually trauma. There's trauma that is associated to things that happen to us as a child, because no one asked to be in a violent home. No one asked to be in an abusive home. No one asked, hey, I want to, you know what, when I turn 7, I want to grow up in a house where my mom's using drugs. No one says that. So the trauma that comes with that carries into a place that until we realize, okay, we've got to do something different. And that's where that accepting comes from. And to your point, starting off and just looking at ourselves first, I think that's what hurts.
Wow. So that brings me to our next question. So of course you have the trauma, and sometimes that brings along toxicity.
Ooh.
And, you know, just with personal experience, I have found myself staying in toxic relationships for God knows what. And even if I break away from it and that person comes back, it's like, well, I knew it was toxic before. Why am I going back crazy? And then I find myself going back. So why do you think people go back to toxic situations or relationships rather than just sticking to their guns and holding out to something that's a little bit more healthy?
Okay. Thank you for saying healthy. I don't like the word toxic.
Okay.
I don't
get
like
us,
the
get
word.
us straight.
No. It's a commonly used word. In my personally, I don't like it. Toxins come from toxic, and toxins are released when you work out. So it's a point of release. You're releasing that sweat, stress, all those different things. If you're working out in a relationship and you're releasing toxins, which are the things in you that need to come out, then I'm all for that, because a person does not know what needs to come out until they get into a situation. Most people feel like their relationship is supposed to be perfect. We're not supposed to argue. We're not supposed to be stressed about anything. We're not supposed to have any type of combustion or conflict in relationship. Not true. The 3 things, and I stick with 3 on it, most things that keep a relationship are closeness, communication, and the 3rd one, most importantly, conflict resolution, which means you are going to have conflict. So how do we work out the conflict? And if you continue to get the toxins out of you, those bad places and stubborn places that have been there for a while, you'll be able to release the person that you were before. So that's why I say I don't like the word toxic. But what I do love is healthy. The Bible talks about a dog returning to its own vomit. And the Bible actually says that person or action is fool and foolish. So we repeat the same behavior, wanting different results. And so I believe all of this is learned behavior. Who told you you're supposed to stay in something? You might have seen your mom in a bad relationship for years and years and years. And so it's learned. So to unlearn what you've already learned, you've got to relearn. And that is going to take a lot of reconstruction. So there are relationships that I've been in a relationship that we had combustion, but it brought out the best in me. It made me a better person. My commitment to my current relationship is making me a better person. And we don't smell roses every single solitary day. But it has made me a better man, because my commitment to her is an example of my commitment to him. So I'm not showing up for her every day. I'm actually showing up for him. So that way, whatever she decides, whether we're together or whether we're not, I'm still showing up for him. So returning back to that means reconstructing your mindset, renewing it, and understanding that you've gone from a place of identifying to now, all right, what am I going to do about it? Because if you have three guys, same situation, same exact thing, you're the common denominator. What am I going to do about it? Returning back to it means I wasn't in a healthy space to make a effective decision, or it's just familiar, or the wood could just be good. It's so many different things. So we just operate out of, I said that like I didn't just say that, right?
Yeah, you did.
You know why? Because so many times we won't even deal with the reality of what it's really is. Sometimes
right. You're right.
You're just getting it so good, you don't even want to go anywhere else. So let's unpack all of that.
Yes.
One podcast, we might have to do another one, but
no, we won't.
But long story short, that's why people return back. That's why I return back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For that reason plus some others, until I realize, you know what, I'm damaging myself by even staying in that.
Mm-hmm.
Just even the last part, the sexual part.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
We just got to take inventory of all of it and realize, okay, if I go back, this, and this. But I do believe in, if you see a person making efforts and striving towards, transforming, evolving, on a path to accommodating the things that you need, then work with it. But if not, don't go back.
Mm-hmm.
I said something, I think it was close to the first of the year. It was a post that I did, and it said, I forgot to remember.
Mm-hmm. I saw that as I was stalking your social media.
Good. Yes. I'll do the research if you're going to have guests, so I appreciate it.
So do you think, too, that a lot of people stick with people just because they're afraid to be alone? That they're afraid to be by themselves, or they feel like because they're getting a certain age, they just kind of want to be in a relationship anyway, just not,
That's settling.
Yeah.
I just rather, it's like the devil know is better than the one you don't. I don't want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just settle for this. We've lowered our expectations. Like we don't even have to have those things no more. But yeah, it's a combination of things. So I don't think there's one perfect answer. I think there's so many different things. Yeah. Wow. And I think the climate that we're in right now, as it relates to relationship, everyone has become an expert. Everyone has become a person who, knows everything about everything. So it's almost like getting into something new and not knowing exactly how it's going to turn out. So I'd rather stay safe.
Right. Wow. As the pastor said, we don't want to be before you long, and I want to be very mindful of your time. But before we get out of here, I, as well as many folks today, what is the whole ghosting thing about? Like, why? What's your take on that? Why do we do that? Why do y'all do that?
Women do it too. Women do it too.
I was gonna say, what I'm seeing, and most people don't like confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people aren't even honest. I mean, even with themselves. But it's easier to, there's some attachment styles. Avoidance is one of them. Mm-hmm. If I can avoid you, then it'll go away. So for one, I don't ghost. That's number one, first and foremost. If we're not together anymore, I like to do an exit interview. Okay, what could I have done to improve things? I over communicate. So this show is long because my answers are long, not because of you. I over communicate.
Love it.
No, it's fine. I love it.
Love it.
I over communicate as well.
But I do believe in saying it right once so you don't have to continue to say it. Like if we get it right, I'll spend 2 hours on a conversation, but I don't want to continue that same thing over and over and over. But getting back to what we were saying, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's real easy. For a woman, I mean, just from a womansplaining perspective, when you aren't interested in a guy, a lot of times you don't want to hurt his feelings. That's another point. So instead of just saying, hey, you know, I'm not interested, it's easier just to decrease the phone calls, not pick up, you know,
Right.
instead of just being honest with a person. Because this is the thing. Yeah, but this is the thing. You don't want to hurt their feelings, but you're hurting their feelings by not being honest with them.
True.
So ghosting is bad. It's just, but it's a common thing. It's been accepted now. Yeah. So
wow.
I encourage the guys that I talk to always communicate how you feel, what you think, so that people don't have to wonder. That's a bad thing that, you know, and I hate to even play the gender thing. Well, men do this and women do that. Right now, what I'm seeing is our culture has shifted so much that it's women doing some of the things that typically men would do, and men doing some of the things that typically women would do.
Right.
And that doesn't make her masculine. It doesn't make him feminine. It's just some of those traits have just changed from person to person. So.
Right.
So, given what we've talked about, your experiences, your transformation, what would be your best advice to our audience in regards to building and maintaining successful and healthy relationships, even while getting out all those toxins that you talked about earlier?
Accountability, remaining accountable.
Okay.
I have no problem telling my lady where I am at any time. I shan't, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to pick up the phone. Even if it's, hey, babe, everything good? Okay, well, she knows it's a 15-second rule. If it's something that needs to be handled, I can handle it in 15 seconds. I don't care if I'm in a meeting with President Obama. If my woman calls, hey, babe, is everything okay? All right, cool. Look, I'm in this meeting. I'll give you a call back. Because she deserves that attention.
My God.
That's
Hallelujah.
accountability. That's accountability. And oftentimes I'll try to let her know ahead of time what my plan is for the day or whatever, because I don't like to be asked questions. I do not like, where you at? Where you been? I don't like it. So I try to be proactive, even though it is a little bit of control laced in it. Just being honest. But accountability is one. Transparency. This right here, full access. You want to see what's up? I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing to hide. Got to be transparent, and that goes both ways.
Right.
Also, letting her know how much I appreciate her. How can you? And I'm using what I do to maintain a healthy relationship. Let her know on a daily basis how beautiful she is. Doing little things every day. Being consistent. Men, listen to me, please. If you're consistent in your woman's life, even if you messed up yesterday, she knows that every day you're going to do the one thing that you do every day. Remain consistent. That's what's going to keep you in the relationship. I hope you heard me. Remain consistent.
I hope they did too.
I hope they did as
I hope
well.
they did as well.
Because Jay and I talk about that all the time, consistency.
Right.
But they're consistent with being inconsistent. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Consistent with being inconsistent.
Right. And that's bad. And don't try to get, I can say what I want to say, right? Don't try to get your lady that night. Get her in the morning. Talk to her in the morning. I have to use for people who are matured in these type of relationships where you are being intimate. You can't come to a woman necessarily at that moment when you want to be intimate with her. If I know that's where I'm going, in the morning, hey baby, you looking beautiful today. Lunchtime, girl, I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking about your thighs. Right before you get off work, man, listen, hey, I'm gonna go by the so-and-so and pick up such and such. And when I show up, I might have flowers. I don't want to put in the work. There's no work. There's no work. None. It's just showing up. Man, I apologize in advance because I don't know y'all's listeners. Showing up King Dingaling. And you
that's our listeners.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I told.
So, and I don't know how to, I do if I need to do it to be politically correct. But if I could just be myself.
Yes, please.
Showing up and just expecting someone to just be ready at a moment's notice in a relationship where she was doing what she had to do all day, you doing what you had to do. There's so many different things that it takes to keep a relationship thriving and healthy. But guess what? They're small things. Cooking, cleaning, picking up something, little, just the thoughtful gestures. Those things. I would go to her house and wash her dishes because I knew she was just getting off work. I've been off work. It's just little bitty things that says I'm thinking about you. I care about you. So I hope they got that.
I hope they do too, Brian, because I feel like that has to be in a person's heart too. Like that just has to be, that just has to be a part of their love language. Because so many people have different love languages. And so, and then, you know, we can also go back to learned behavior or what they saw within their household.
Right.
My mom didn't do this, so I don't feel like I should have to do it because my daddy always took care of that. And I didn't grow up in a two-parent household. My mom was single. So I think maybe that's where some of my strong will comes from, because I do everything on my own and I watch my mom do it on her own. And so when I do get a mate, I have to know how to fall back and have an understanding on, of course, if I can trust him and if he's like a provider or whatever, then I'll know how to be a little more submissive and like trust a little bit. So I can admit that I have that issue.
Right.
I can admit that I have that issue.
But even if it's not in a person's heart, watch this. Sometimes it has to be mechanical before it becomes consistent.
Okay.
So sometimes you just have to purpose that I know I need to do this. I know I need to do that. And we want everything to flow like free and just be, but sometimes it might not be like that, especially if you messed up. She's not wanting to touch her or anything. So you've got to, sometimes it just has to be a mechanical thing. Your car does not want to crank every single time you turn it over, but it's a machine. And that's what I'm saying. You have to be mechanical sometimes before it becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll come back to it. But basically, we kind of want things to be organic. That's the word.
Yes.
Sometimes it has to become mechanical before it becomes organic.
There you go.
See, it starts out in a lot of times organic, and our representative is on display anyway. So, you know, we're not getting a real person. We're not presenting a real person. So a lot of times that what you were saying is, you know, I didn't see this, and we talked about that in childhood. You know, not seeing different things, our different experiences, and all of those types of things. But when you know, for me, I know I don't want to lose my lady. And if it means I've got to do this, then guess what? It might not be normal for me to do or natural, but if me doing this 25 times is going to get me the end result, man, I do it hands down.
I know that's right.
Come on.
What are we willing to sacrifice?
There you go. There you go.
For a good person, I mean, a good woman, for a good man? No. Yeah, I don't have that pride and ego, so.
Wow. I'm really speechless, and that's rare.
Very rare. Trust me.
Well, the hope is that I can pass this on to other men. And I have guys that I hate using the word coach, but I have guys that I kind of help navigate through relationships, as well as even parenting, you know, because that's difficult. But the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. So if you're a failure in one area, guess what? You're going to be a failure in other areas. So master doing that one thing, and then it'll spill over into the other areas. And
when you said that, I heard jack of all trades and a master of none.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
if you know a lot about a little bit, it's better than knowing all about one thing and being one-dimensional.
I've heard that before.
You know, just having a bit of a pulse on, you know, this. I don't necessarily have to know the ins and outs of it, but if it's something that's interesting to you, let's talk about it. So
yeah, but this is some good stuff.
It is. We're gonna have you back.
I was just going to say, we're gonna have you back.
Hold on. I just said, see, y'all didn't catch it.
And your lady
I was
friend.
already setting up my comeback when I said y'all might have to have me to come back.
Yes.
Yeah, I was hoping until then, but it's okay. Go ahead. You might have to have me come back. Sure.
Yes, we will. So listen, what do we have anything to look forward down the pipeline for you that you're working on? Or
Yes. Okay, so and a lot of times I'll drop off from social media because I really want to be led by God. I don't want to just post to be posting, because there are people whose lives are connected to certain things. So I understand you got to be consistent. But for the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Is that correct? I'm dealing with this topic called trauma responses, and going to deal with all the different trauma responses that I can think of. Then in June, we'll be officially launching the Mansplaining podcast. We've been talking about it. And because so much content come up, so we're getting ready to go. June, because June is the month of man. It's the number 6. It's the number of flesh. So we're going to go in full stream. So May is going to be our month of much. So we'll be dropping. So check us out on Facebook. That's my personal page, Brian Hines. B-Toulan, B-Toulan on Instagram, and you'll find us on both of those platforms.
Okay. Well, that was our next question. You already answered. Well,
Yes.
listen, this was amazing.
It was.
Wow.
And yes, we will have to have you back. You are an expert. Okay. Just embrace it.
Yeah.
If you say so, I'm gonna let you say it.
And so we appreciate you so much again. You have any final thoughts, Jay?
No, I don't. He just has to come back.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. I left y'all speechless.
Yes.
Hold on a second. Let me pat my own self on.
There you go. Pat yourself.
Yes. Go ahead. Do that. Yeah, this was good. So listen, we thank you guys for joining us. We hope that you have gotten some nuggets, whether you're male or female. There's something here for both. Continue to stick and stay with us. And again, thank you, Brian, for joining us. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.